Hello, welcome, and thanks for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Gamansing. Newly formed tropical storm Chantal is taking aim at the Caribbean. News 2's AccuWeather meteorologist Violetta Yaz has been keeping a close eye on this tropical system and has an update.
Thanks, Sandy. Well, after a quiet couple of weeks, things starting to become more active out across the Atlantic Basin, and of course the main weather feature right now, Chantal. And as of earlier this afternoon, the system still over 400 miles east-southeast of Barbados, so moving quite quickly off to the west-northwest, and that motion is expected to continue over the course of the next couple of days. Nonetheless, we do have tropical storm warnings out for Barbados, Dominica, St. Lucia, Martinique, and also Guadeloupe. So, of course, more details coming up on tonight's show. Back to you, Sandy.
Thank you for that. Meanwhile, the Virgin Islands Territorial Emergency Management Agency, or VITEMA, is closely monitoring tropical storm Chantal. VITEMA's director, Elton Lewis, advises everyone to take time now to ensure that all necessary measures are in place to protect your family and property. On Monday morning, Lewis and his emergency operations manager convened a conference call with the National Weather Center Weather Service Forecast Office at San Juan for a briefing on the storm. Lewis also remains in contact with the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, officials at the Caribbean Area Division in Puerto Rico, which provides key support to the territory before, during, and after a disaster. Well, WAPA has issued a scam alert to caution customers about unauthorized telephone calls from unknown parties. Scammers are targeting WAPA customers and threatening them with disconnection. News 2's Shaniqua Robinson has more on this issue.
Virgin Islands residents and business owners are being targeted by scammers who are threatening to disconnect their utility services if they're not paid.
WAPA was informed by a number of business owners on St. Thomas reporting that they were threatened with disconnection.
Targeted WAPA customers have been asked to send large sums of money to WAPA's disconnection center through MoneyGram only. After the business owner has the money, they are directed to call a number with an 801 area code for further instructions about where to send the payment.
WAPA does not have a disconnection center, nor does WAPA have junction boxes that serve individual customers.
A second possibly related scam reported to WAPA focuses on telephone calls asking for the customer's junction box number.
The caller referring to those two ideas of the junction box and the disconnect center should be a red flag.
The case has been turned over to the Virgin Islands Department of Justice for further investigation. Customers are urged to report scam calls to the following.
We want customers to be very cautious about sharing their account information, their personal identification numbers, their PIN numbers, or any other confidential information that pertains to their account with anyone else.
Shaniqua Robinson, News 2.
Again, be sure to dispose of your WAPA bills and other personal information in a secure manner. The Senate Committee on Education and Workforce Development met Monday to discuss several bills. Top of the agenda was legislation to enact the VI Charter Schools Act of 2013, which would bring public education alternatives to parents. Lawmakers also heard testimony from education officials about a bullying prevention education bill and legislation about the courses of study in public schools. Senators also invited health and education officials to talk about a bill to employ at least one certified nursing assistant, one licensed practical nurse, and one emergency medical technician per public school. The bill would also require a minimum of 2 registered nurses per district. News 2 will have more on the charter school bill in Tuesday's newscast. The Golden Grove prison is on lockdown. Bureau of Corrections Acting Director Basil Richards said Monday that he instituted an immediate lockdown of the jail because of a staff shortage. Corrections staff and officers have staged a coordinated sick-out. Richards said he doesn't know what caused the action, but officials have put measures in place to safeguard against any negative impact. They are pulling supervisory staff from other districts, as well as calling on the VI Police Department for help. News 2 will keep you updated on the situation. A 31-year-old man is dead after being shot early Sunday morning on St. Croix. Police are investigating the shooting death of Sheldon Phillips. that happened outside a private party in estate Butler's Bay in Frederiksted. According to detectives, Phillips was shot while he was in the driver's seat of his car. He was taken to the hospital by private vehicle and pronounced dead around 5 a.m. Police are asking anyone who was in the area and heard any arguments or saw anything unusual to call detectives or Crime Stoppers. Well, police have now identified the dead body of a missing minor found July 3rd as that of 17-year-old Rosalie Figueroa. Police continue to investigate what happened to the minor who was found dead in a swimming pool on the north side of St. Croix. Investigators said she left her home in Frederiksted around noon on July 3rd and was found dead a day later. Police are asking for anyone who may have seen her when she left home or been with Rosalie to contact the department. Anyone who has any information at all about who she was with or where she went between July 3rd and 4th are asked to call police or Crime Stoppers to help investigators solve the case. Meanwhile, detectives say 2 missing minors have been located. The 2 were found together in Estate Glen. 16-year-old Tarika Alexander, as you may recall, had been missing since May 15th, and 16-year-old Ras Jahida Escobar, who was missing June 22nd. Police say it is the second time over the past 2 months that Escobar had run away. They were both returned to the Youth Rehabilitation Center in Estate Anna's Hope. And police, meanwhile, are investigating an armed robbery at the Elaine Variety Store in Diamond Ruby on St. Croix that occurred on Thursday around 7:45 p.m. According to witnesses, a lone gunman wearing a black mask and dressed in all black clothing ran up to the cashier and demanded money from the cash register. The cashier complied and the gunman took an undisclosed amount of money and ran towards the Sunny Acres area. Police have classified it as a first-degree robbery. Contact police at 778-2211 or Crime Stoppers if you have any information that may assist. Government House Communication Director John P. Griot is recovering from a hit-and-run accident that occurred around 5 a.m. Sunday. According to police, Griot was driving along Hull Bay Road on the way to his house when he was sideswiped by a dark-colored SUV. Griot's vehicle careened over an embankment and rolled several times before it finally stopped. The vehicle was heavily damaged, but Griot suffered only minor injuries. Authorities are appealing to any witnesses of the accident to contact Traffic Bureau officers at the VI Police Department. We'll turn our attention stateside. The possibility of pilot error has become the early focus of the investigation into Saturday's deadly crash of a South Korean airliner. 2 passengers died and more than 180 were sent to hospitals. Bigat Chaban has the latest from San Francisco.
The wreckage of Asiana Flight 214 remains on the tarmac at San Francisco International Airport. Federal investigators say the South Korean jet was coming in too low and too slow when it made a crash landing and burn Saturday. Investigators are now looking into initial reports. The pilot at the controls had thousands of hours of experience flying other types of planes, but was still learning to fly the Boeing 777. Asiana Airlines says a senior pilot was in charge the whole time and that the entire flight was his responsibility. First responders described the scene on board the fuselage.
We had elderly, we had a woman with a gentleman who was standing over her. We had somebody that was partially trapped.
I didn't think about it till I just knew that those people were trapped in there and they needed help.
The head of the National Transportation Safety Board says the pilots will be interviewed today, now that interpreters are at the scene.
We want to make sure that they have interpretive services, that there are people there who can help them with the interview. We don't want people to be confused. We just want to get the facts.
More than a dozen victims of the crash remain in the hospital, some with fractured spines. Many of the survivors say they can't believe they're alive.
Bang, and the plane just hit the ground so hard.
2 teenagers from China were killed. Investigators say one of the girls may have survived the crash before being hit by a rescue vehicle racing to the scene. Bigat Chaban, CBS News, San Francisco.
And keeping our eye on the economy, temporary workers are becoming a bigger part of the U.S. workforce. The number of freelancers, contract workers, and consultants increased by more than 50% at major companies in the past 4 years. Facebook released a new search feature to make it easier to find information on the social media site by refining search words and phrases. They hope the change will get users to spend more time on the site and make it more appealing to advertisers. This is the New York Stock Exchange with Scotiabank Stock Market Watch. Everything up. The Dow 88, NASDAQ 5, S&P 8. Coming up on News 2, an update on the ongoing demolition at Bournefield on St. Thomas and the protests. Plus, it is high in vitamin A, beta-carotene, vitamin C, vitamin B1 and B2, potassium, iron, and fiber. Those who attended the Mango Melee learned all about many recipes and much, much more. We'll be right back. Well, we have been following the ongoing demolition at Bournefield in St. Thomas by the VI Port Authority. Unlike its attempt in 2011, Port Authority is ready this time with a DP&R permit to prove the demolition is allowed. But Bournefield residents are still not satisfied and are keeping up the protest. News 2's April Knight finds out why.
This ordinary street on Bournefield St. Thomas was fraught with tension the past few days. On one side are VI Port Authority contractors with orders to demolish some units. On the other side are Bournefield tenants determined to stop them.
We want fair justice. We're tired of the lying. We're tired of all this.
The Trackhoes are here for one reason: to knock down 2 abandoned housing units and 4 concrete slabs. From the sidelines, Bournefield tenants are loudly protesting. They criticize the lack of communication from Port Authority regarding the recent demolition.
We actually officially found out about it was Walter Challenger came that same day and started to, should I say, place in the boxes and under the doors. The same day of the demolition, it was backdated July 1st.
Bournefield residents are saying that this demolition should have been approved by the legislature, but according to the VI Port Authority, only evictions and relocations need legislative approval and not the demolition of uninhabited property. But if the units are indeed uninhabited, why are Bournefield residents so vehemently opposed to tearing them down?
249 is inhabitable with repairs. You could have repaired them for $40,000. You go ahead and you knock them down for $40,000. It actually makes no sense.
Bournefield residents are also lamenting the destruction of what they consider historically significant architecture.
These houses was built by the Navy when they used to come here. They do not come here anymore. These houses should be historical houses.
Bournefield tenants can do nothing but watch as Trackhoes devour concrete, but they remain watchful, firm in their belief that the demolition at Bournefield is the wrong way to go. April Knight, News 2.
Port Authority officials were not available for comment as of news time, but News 2 will be giving you important updates on this story. Well, Sunday on St. Croix was all things mango as hundreds of visitors to the St. George Village Botanical Gardens gathered for this year's annual Mango Melee and Tropical Fruit Festival. There was everything from mango-flavored drinks to mango Johnny cakes and pancakes, as well as everything in between. The festival offered food, drinks, fruits, salsas, plants, and of course taste testing. People lined up throughout the afternoon to dunk their favorite senator. Senators Nelson and Gittins were in the water more than they were out of it. But the highlight of the day was the mango eating contest for children and adults. The most unlikely competitor took the prize for children's. Soraya Samuel finished 4 mangoes first. On the adult side, last year's winner Hector Gordon repeated his victory, edging out competitors by finishing 8 mangoes first. Congratulations. The Christiansted Town area was the place to be on Friday evening. Jump Up was in full effect and everyone was out dancing in the streets and having a great time.
I'm here from visiting from Maryland. I love this island. I kind of grew up here. I've been visiting here since I was 3 years old. I got married in this church 8 years ago. If you would come here, you'd have a beautiful experience. And Jump Up just like caps it off. It's so exciting, so much fun, and you will totally get a great cultural experience doing that here. And you know what? It's the Virgin Islands, and it's the Caribbean and in an American style. It's wonderful. So come visit.
Looked like a whole lot of fun. Stick around, your News 2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.